Hello everyone and welcome to the REMN Wholesale sponsored webinar, How to Generate More Referrals with Social Media. Before we begin, a few housekeeping notes. A copy of this presentation will be sent to all participants after the webinar is over. Also, all your phones are on mute right now, and that's to limit the background noise. We're also recording this session, so that will also be sent out with the presentation. If you have any questions at any time during the course of the webinar, feel free to ask them in the question box on the webinar panel. We will have a Q&A at the end of the session. However, we have to be conscious of time, so we will have Q&A as time permits. But we will answer every question that's asked. So along with a copy of the presentation and the recording, we will also send out a Q&A to all participants. At this time, I'd like to introduce Carl Markman, Director of National Sales at REMN Wholesale.
Thank you so much, Pam, and thank you very much for everyone attending this webinar. We have several thousand people listening in today to listen to Michaela, one of the renowned social media experts. She's done this globally, and we look forward to hearing from her over the next 30 to 45 minutes. This is actually the perfect time of the year to plan for the following year. So even we say all the time in our business that at this point we're in the middle of November, right? Thanksgiving's right around the corner. That this year is basically over. So all of our activities that we're doing now is going to affect next year. So this is a perfect time to include social media in next year's plan. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Michaela Alexis. Thank you very much, Michaela.
Awesome. All right. Hello and happy Thursday. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me today. And I want to give a special thanks to REMN for sponsoring this webinar. I am super excited to be here, and I sincerely hope that you guys get some real value out of today's call. My name is Michaela, and I have been working with over 100 brands for over a decade. I started working in corporate social media back when just having a Facebook page for a business was a really big deal. You guys know this is the good old days. LinkedIn is the platform where I've built my audience primarily, but today we're going to go into detail with tips and tricks on how to generate more business using each one of the social media platforms. Now, this call is pretty short, so I'm going to be moving through the content pretty quickly because we have a lot to get through, but hopefully we'll have a few minutes at the end for some Q&A, and if not, feel free to connect with me afterwards, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. So today we're going to start with LinkedIn for Business, and then we'll jump right into using Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for business. Ready? Let's dive into my favorite business tool, which is LinkedIn. Now, when I work for my clients, we follow a very specific order. First, we work on optimizing their profile for conversions, and then we create a strategy for their corporate brand and or personal brand, as well as a publishing strategy, and then we work on executing and monetizing their content. So let's start with the basics by looking at what I consider to be 3 key parts of your LinkedIn profile to focus on for business development. First, you've got your LinkedIn summary. So what sort of stuff should be included in your summary? The first is who you are. This is essentially your value statement. Can you summarize who you are in a line or two? This is really great practice for that next networking event that you go to. How would you describe yourself when you're meeting new people? Which roles do you identify with? And what matters most to you? Second, you want to talk about why you do what you do. Why did you get into the mortgage industry? Tell the story behind your aha moment. It doesn't need to be some Disney-esque magical transformation. You just need to be willing to share your why with your audience. And remember that people don't care about what you do until they know who you are and why you do what you do, which is why I've ordered these sections in a very specific order. Next, you have what you have to offer. What services do you bring to the table? How can you simplify what you offer and make it easy for your readers to understand? It's super important here to avoid any sort of jargon or generalizing. Be very specific and straightforward. And then last, how to get in touch. Let me be super clear. The who, why, what, and how are all equally important, and you need to include all of them in your summary. How to get in touch is important because the person reading your summary wants to know what they should do next, and they don't want to guess. Should they send you a connection request? Should they follow you on LinkedIn or another platform? Should they send you a private message, email or call you, send you a carrier pigeon or a hugogram? Whatever works for you, make sure to include it here. Now, it's probably not too surprising that my summary sauce recipe acronym is latte because it wouldn't be a Michaela webinar without coffee included somehow. If you have a piece of paper handy, I want you to write this one down, and let's talk about what latte stands for. So we have the L, and the L is for let your audience be your guide. You want to make sure that you're formatting your LinkedIn summary for busy professionals. And what does this mean? It means breaking up your paragraphs as much as possible, using bullet points when possible, and really getting very concise. And then A is always write in the first person. This might come as a surprise because so many of us are used to writing in the third person, especially when we prepare cover pages or we're writing a bio. But this isn't a bio or a cover page or cover letter. This is your LinkedIn introduction. This is an introduction to the person that is reaching your profile. So you want to make sure that you're talking about yourself in the first person. And then the T is tell people what to do next. I know that I've already been talking about calls to action quite a bit, but I'm going to reinforce it again because it's so important. Once you've created that great summary, you want to tell the person what to do next. And then the second T is for think above the fold. Pitch yourself in the very first line or two. This is super important because whether you're on the desktop version or on your mobile device, you'll notice that people only see that very first line of your summary before they have to scroll to see more. Now, most people are not actually going to take the time to scroll and see more, which makes it even more important to have that really strong value statement in the first line. And then the T or the E is for explain your why. You want to connect the dots and own your career story. Now, I know all of this is pretty hard to visualize, so I've gathered a couple of examples of people that I feel are doing an awesome job with their summary, and I'll explain why for each. So first we have Dr. Natalia. Natalia is a really good friend of mine, and her summary profile really captures her personality incredibly well. She's bubbly and colorful, and so is her profile. She's able to use emojis and still have it look professional, and I love how clear and easy to read her summary is. She's definitely catering to her audience. And it's also important to note that even though her format is a little different than what I just showed you, she's still including all of the who, why, what, and how elements in her summary, plus she's attaching media to the bottom. My second example is Eric Eklund. Eric's summary is my gold standard because, again, formatting wise, he's right on the money. He uses that very first line to break the ice. I don't know if you guys can see it there, but he says, "Hi there, I'm Eric, and as you can tell from my blue eyes and blonde hair, I'm Swedish." So you know that he's a funny dude that you're going to be talking to. And I love how he's divided each section with these headers. My favorite part, though, is how he's repurposed his LinkedIn recommendations for his summary and uses social proof as ammo to sell and convert. All right, so the second part of your LinkedIn profile that I want to talk about is your profile photo. Your profile photo is important because it's the only part of your profile that people see before they choose to visit your profile or not. So when you send a connection request or you're commenting on someone else's content, you want to make sure that you're making a really good impression with that profile photo. Now, there are some general suggestions that I have for your profile photo, like making sure that you're smiling, that you look approachable, that it's high resolution, and that you're the only one in the photo. But I feel like those suggestions are pretty commonly known. So I'm going to use this time to share some do's and some do nots when it comes to your profile photo, starting with the distance that your photo should be. Now, I'm going to preface this by apologizing in advance if your photo pops up here. It is nothing personal. We all have room for improvement when it comes to our profile, but the suggestions that I'm making are actually backed up by LinkedIn research. So first you have on the photo on the left, and that photo is far too far away. Even if I were to open up this photo, I would still be squinting to see the person in it. Do not make people squint, and think of your profile in thumbnail format. Is your face still clearly visible when it's in a teeny tiny thumbnail? Now on the right, we have a photo that is the opposite. It is too close up. It instinctively makes you move away from your computer. Why? Think about meeting this person at a networking event. They would be far too close and in our space, right? That's something that you want to keep in mind when it comes to your profile photo. What distance would you be in person? And a good rule of thumb is that your face should take up roughly about 60% of the frame. Now, I want you to take a look at Julian's photo after looking at those last two. You see the difference there? He's nailed the photo distance perfectly, and his body language in the photo is totally open to the camera and very approachable. Okay, next is style. Listen, it's super important to sprinkle your personality into your photo, but there is a limit. A strong personal brand is consistent. That means that you should look the same online as you do offline. And when you start over filtering your photo, there's a disconnect there. So on the left side, you have somebody that's taken it a bit too far. I have no idea what they actually look like, and I wouldn't be able to spot them in a room. Now on the right, you have a photo that is a little bit outdated. The backdrop is stiff and corporate, and while I can see the person's face, his photo blends into thousands of others just like it. It doesn't stand out at all. Now, I've pulled some examples from actual mortgage professionals of their professional profiles that are fun and more candid / casual, but still professional. Notice that they're in their element. This is a new trend that's called lifestyle headshots. It's basically where people are photographed where they work or bring in elements of their work into the photo. So just to wrap this up, a solid profile photo is approachable, confident, and clearly communicates who you are. All right, moving on to LinkedIn recommendations. I'm going to challenge each one of you, if you don't already have recommendations, to request a recommendation from at least 3 people. Recommendations are an awesome way to get your clients to share how awesome you are and use social proof to turbo boost your profile. LinkedIn highly values profiles with recommendations in terms of SEO so that you'll show up further up in search results, but you'll also notice that the text for recommendations is about 50% larger than the rest of your text on your LinkedIn profile. Here's a little hack that I want to share with you, though, because there's a problem with recommendations. They're too far down your profile. So unless somebody takes the time to scroll through your profile, they might not see them at all. How do we get around this issue? Well, you can insert them into your summary, like I showed you that Eric has, or you can do what I've done and add it into a photo and attach it to your experience section, add it to your summary section, or even use them as content that way. Get creative and use the power of social proof to your advantage. Let's talk a little bit about networking like a LinkedIn all-star. So a couple things that you want to do is that you want to make sure that that you're connecting with the right people, right? So the first way that you can do this is by using the Find Nearby feature and QR code feature on LinkedIn. So the Find Nearby feature is a relatively new feature that most people don't actually know about. So the next time that you're hosting or attending an event and you want to network quickly with multiple people, ask them to turn on the Find Nearby feature, which you can do by clicking on My Connections, that little icon right at the bottom, and then choosing Find Nearby and turn on your Bluetooth. It will instantly display the people near you and you can connect with them on the spot. Now, the QR code scanner is very new. It's a second way that you can quickly connect on LinkedIn without using business cards. To access this feature, you just need to click on the barcode icon right up at the right corner of your search bar, and it's going to open up your scanner. This is a super easy and great way to make sure that you don't lose your prospects' information. Okay, so those are some great ways to proactively connect with people, but what about the connection requests that you get, right? I get this question a lot, so I'm going to address it right now. How do you choose which connection request to accept? Here's just an easy, simplified way to figure that out. So you want to ask yourself, is this somebody that can help me reach my career/business goals in some capacity? It doesn't need to be that that person's going to give you money, but it might be to help you land new referrals, new clients, to share some of your posts, or just support your overall business goals. So if the answer to that question is yes, then you accept. And if you still aren't sure, send them a message and try to learn more about them. Let's talk about building your personal brand strategy on LinkedIn. So these are some of the steps that I take with clients in terms of figuring out what that strategy should look like. So step number one is define your personal brand goals. How can having a strong personal brand on LinkedIn help you? Write down your big goals and then get more specific with the objectives for each. So just as an example, let's say that your goal is to increase your brand awareness. So you want to list out what you need to do to make that happen. It might be to publish one blog post per week. It might be to share your content on LinkedIn regularly, connect with publications within your niche and start guest blogging, or even creating a list of podcasts within your niche and pitching yourself as an interviewee. And then the second step is identify your area of awesomeness. What are the strengths that you have that nobody else has? Again, think of yourself at that networking event. What do you want to be introduced as? The blank expert. Fill in those gaps with what you want to be known for. And then number three is define your audience, voice, and style. So some of the questions that you may want to ask yourself here are, who do you want to reach? Why do you want to speak to them? How do you want them to feel when they come across your content or profile? What impression are you trying to make? Who are some of the people in business that you admire and why? Can you use them as inspiration for your own content? And how do you normally speak offline with clients? How would you describe your tone and personality? And I think that it's really helpful here to ask friends and family because sometimes we don't really know what that looks like. The number four is choose your weapons. What tools are you going to be using to build your business? How can you optimize each and every one of them for success? So for example, here's my weapon list. So I have my LinkedIn profile, I have my LinkedIn company page, I have my website, I have my LinkedIn updates and articles, my business cards, and my LinkedIn free course, which is regularly generating leads for my business. So I want to make sure that I'm keeping on top of all of those. And then number five is develop a publishing schedule. This is so important. You want to make sure that you're creating a schedule that you can actually keep up with. The last thing that you want to do is create this great strategy and then get totally overwhelmed because you weren't realistic about how much content you could produce and publish on a regular basis. Right, let's talk about Twitter for business. Here are a few tips to search for and find the right people to connect with. So the first one is to find local people by using tweets near you. I don't know if you knew this, but Twitter actually lets you narrow the results to only find the tweets posted near your area. This is super helpful for following local news, finding trends in your area, or even finding new prospects. I used to use this feature when I ran the social media presence for a very large property management company here in Ottawa. So what I would do is I would search for things like find apartment, and then I would narrow it down to the areas that we had properties in. And it was a fantastic way to be proactive about landing new leads. Number two is using Twitter lists. There are so many Twitter lists out there on just about every single topic. Lists are created by users on LinkedIn that want to categorize the people that they follow. So So if you're looking for local businesses slash influencers slash experts, this is a really handy way to find the right people to connect with. Ooh, this is a fun one. Well, maybe just fun for me. Number 3 is leverage your LinkedIn connections. This is a really easy hack for you. So if you have a really great relationship with a client, check and see if they have their Twitter handle listed in their contact information on their LinkedIn profile. This is a really great way to make sure that you're staying in the loop with them on all the channels that they may be active on. Let's talk about formatting your tweet. So there's a few ways that you want to reach the right types of people using the right types of content on LinkedIn. The first one is using links that don't stink. So 92% of interactions on Twitter are actually link clicks, which is really interesting. But you can't just add a regular old link and watch the engagement roll in. According to LinkedIn itself, users are looking for links that offer one of the following. So you have discounts and promotions, free stuff, fun and entertainment, updates on upcoming sales and events, and access to exclusive content. Number 2 is talk with people, not at them. You want to use a candid, casual, conversational tone. Reply to at mentions and address both positive and negative feedback. It's a real-time network, so businesses shouldn't keep followers waiting for too long here. You want to be professional without being overly formal. So avoid business jargon when possible. Would they want to retweet it or pass it along to others? Incorporate humor, inspiration, and newsworthy content to draw followers in. Number 3 is add photos and videos to increase engagement. It might be surprising for you guys to see that here, but Twitter is actually still a visual platform, and a sharp image can actually help you stand out in the noise. It's been proven to double engagement on posts. Number 4 is timing is everything. Twitter has been very clear that weekends are best for B2C and best on weekdays for B2B. Across the board, the best time to post on Twitter is between 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then number 5 is more is more. Twitter is such a fast-paced platform that you need to be posting much more often than you would on other platforms. Ideally, if you want to see a return, you really need to be posting between 4 and 20 times a day consistently. I know that sounds like a lot, but the bright side is that tweets take much less time than posts on LinkedIn or Facebook because they're so much shorter, making this quantity actually possible. All right, Facebook for business. So I'm going to talk about leveraging Facebook groups for business. So there's a few ways that you can use Facebook groups to generate new opportunities for your business development strategy. Number 1 is answer questions. One of the most common thing that you're going to see in groups that you're part of on Facebook is that people ask a lot of questions. This is a great opportunity for you to share your expertise and become the go-to person on your subject matter. Answering questions is a quick and easy way to share some knowledge and reap the rewards, not just with the person that you're responding to, but also anybody else reading that discussion. So the best way to do this is to find the questions that will let you demonstrate your expertise or specialized skills. You can answer the questions outright, share a helpful blog post, or even mention your own products or services. Number 2 is create a community around your services and products. If you decide to create your own Facebook group, the possibilities are even more powerful. By creating your own group, you can build a community around your services and products and invite clients to get to know each other. This is a great way to make your clients feel like VIPs and provide an area where they can get additional help and training from you. If you're looking for more referrals, this is a great space to ask your clients in. And then number 3 is establish authority. Whether you are the creator of a group or a member, participating in Facebook groups allows you to establish authority within your area of expertise. You have the opportunity to become the thought leader in your community and build a reputation as somebody that truly knows your stuff. Lastly, Facebook groups allow you to digitally network with local business people. One of my favorite Facebook groups that I'm part of is called Ladies Who Lunch. It's an Ottawa-only group of business women that share challenges, ideas, events, and referrals. Do a search yourself and see which groups are active in your area. All right, let's talk about the difference between content that resonates on different platforms. Now, I'm oversimplifying it, of course, but I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for you guys to understand what the intentions are on each platform. So on LinkedIn, it's a professional networking channel. The intention is to learn, to grow, and to connect. So content should be formatted for busy professionals on their coffee break. Just imagine somebody on their coffee break scrolling through on the mobile app. So you got to grab their attention very quickly. Twitter is a conversational networking channel. The intention is to speak to others and gather information as quickly as possible. Communication is much faster here than on other platforms, so content should be concise and frequent. Facebook, the intention is to be entertained and stay in the loop with friends and family, so content should be visually impactful and use storytelling to delight. On YouTube, the intention is to learn new skills and or be entertained by favorite YouTubers/shows. Content should be professionally edited and stylized to stand out with a consistent theme and target audience. And then lastly, Instagram, the intention is to be inspired/motivated. So content should be visually impactful and themed. And storytelling is also super effective here. All right, part 4, YouTube for business. Let's talk about some of the secrets of success for YouTube videos. So the first one is create evergreen content. Don't aim for viral. I mean, let's be honest, we'd all love a little bit of viral action to create buzz for our businesses, right? But that shouldn't be the intention. When you're a professional creating content on LinkedIn or on YouTube, you shouldn't be aiming for quantity of views, but rather the quality of views. A training video or an interview with a client isn't going to rack up nearly as much attention initially as a baby playing with a puppy, say, but over time, it will become a source of leads for your business. And the real purpose behind everything that we post on social media should be conversion, right? Number 2 is optimize for success. There are so many videos available for people to check out on YouTube that it can become overwhelming to think about how our brands can actually stand out. One of the most important things to keep in mind is how people will find your videos. It's important to optimize your video description and title to make sure that more people can access it. And you want to make sure that you're creating a thumbnail that catches viewers' attention. Number 3 is make them talk. Similarly to other platforms, the magic is in the comment section on YouTube. Get in there, respond to questions and comments, and keep the conversation going. I'm going to even task you to take this a step further by adding a call to action in the video you post itself to comment below and encourage people that are watching it to go from lurker to commenter and hopefully customer. Some YouTube influencers to follow. There's only 2 that I really want to mention here because I think that they are the go-to YouTube experts. They are Benji Travis and Sean Cannell, who run an awesome channel called Video Influencers, where they share amazing videos about the best beginners cameras to use, how to create the perfect thumbnail, and so much more. They also just released a book, if you want to check it out. It's called YouTube Secrets, and they really are the authorities on all things YouTube, especially professionals just like you. Part 5, Instagram for business. So here are the key areas of your Instagram profile. So you have your bio. Your bio on Instagram should make it very clear what you do and what you're going to be talking about on the page. Use emojis to make it more visual if appropriate, and make sure, this is key guys, to add your contact information if you're using the business account version. And then highlights. Highlights are a great way to showcase different topics that are important to you. Highlights are essentially Instagram stories that are categorized and saved. This is great if you're creating a lot of content around a very particular subject and want your audience to be able to access it after 24 hours. And then we have Instagram stories. Instagram stories are a great way to show your audience a behind the scenes look at what you do. What's awesome about stories is that they are much more relaxed and candid than other channels. Viewers just really want to peek into your life unfiltered, which can make for a great way to nurture relationships and give your audience a chance to get to know you in a brand new way. So here's the content that generates the highest engagement and why. Number one, crowdsourcing your content. It's so important to not only create content, but also pay attention to your clients and partners to see if and what they're posting about your business. Some of the best content I've posted have been stories shared from my clients about what it was like to work with me or the changes that they've seen in their business since. There is nothing more powerful than stories told about your business as seen through your customers' eyes, and most clients would love for you to reshare it. Number two is create a relevant contest. Giveaways are an awesome way to increase engagement. I mean, who doesn't love free, right? But I'm going to caution you here because your giveaway needs to tie back to your business goals. If the prize and the contest isn't relevant to your brand and the winner isn't somebody that could be a potential client, it's better to focus on other strategies. Make sure that whatever you're giving away makes sense for your brand and for your goals. And then number three is storytelling with photos. This is something that I've touched on again and again, but it's so important. You can't just share the facts or the details. You want to share those heartfelt stories about how you've impacted somebody's life or something that's happened in your world that's impacted you. We as humans are programmed to respond to storytelling. So use storytelling techniques to deliver your message in a big way. So I think here we're going to dive into questions, if that is okay with everybody that's on the call. All right, great. So I'm going to talk about a couple of questions that come up pretty frequently for me. The first one being, what are some examples of the types of posts that generate the highest engagement online? So we all like those specific examples, right? So here are the ones that I see work regardless of the size of the firm. So posts that show off the company culture of their firm, so the faces behind the brand, behind the scenes content, so people love to see how the sausage is made, and it will make your brand appear more transparent. Posts written or videos shot by a particular team member. Coca-Cola is a really, really great example of this if you want to check out their LinkedIn page. Their CEO appears in each one of their videos that are posted, and he regularly shares company news in blog format. Snackable educational content, ooh, that's a mouthful, a highly valuable download, breaking news or a quick tip. People love to learn, especially when it comes to LinkedIn. And then conversation starters. People love to give their opinion. So sparking topics that you know your audience will have a ton to say about are always great. And then number two, what's the biggest mistake that you see brokerages or companies in general make when it comes to social media content? The biggest mistake that I see people make is not earning the right to pitch. So they'll post a link to their contact page on their website or a link to their newsletter without putting in the work to actually nurture the relationship first. People have so much choice today in the marketplace, more than ever. So it's really important to show that you are the trusted source and a company that can help them. You've got to take your audience out for dinner before you propose to them, right? Should I be posting on the fly or scheduling content in advance? Yes, this is a really, really big question. Both. I spend a couple days at the beginning of each month mapping out my ideas and scheduling content, which is 100% necessary, especially if you are listening and you're a small firm without a marketing team, because really there's not enough time in the day to be constantly creating social media content when you have a bazillion other things to do. Am I right? So on the other hand, you want to make sure that you're making room for magic. There are things that can happen in the moment in your office or breaking news within your industry. And for that, you really obviously can't schedule it. But I think that having a strong foundation in advance and then filling in the gaps with things that you can't schedule is a killer strategy. Now, the one thing that I will say is that regardless of whether you post in advance or are posting manually, you need to stay on top of your engagement. You don't want to just post and ghost, especially when you are trying to convert followers into potential clients.
So, hey, Michaela. Hey, Michaela, we have a couple questions that people are asking in the webinar. So I was
Great.
wondering if we have time to just answer a few more.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. We got a couple questions regarding photos. What do
Mhm.
you suggest if you don't feel confident in the way you may look or feel to post a picture of yourself?
Well, I think at the end of the day, it's really about whether or not you want people to connect with your company. Again, people don't care about what you do or what you have to offer until they know who you are. You do not want to be a firm that is relying on Google search results to get business, right? You want to create and nurture relationships online. And unfortunately, the only way to really do that is to show up as yourself. It's kind of like going to a networking event with a bag over your head. So, and I think that that's something that I really struggled with in the beginning, believe it or not, because I'm a writer first, so I like to be behind the computer. And I actually hate my smile. So I don't know if anybody else can relate to that, but I hate my smile. And so a lot of my original photos were me not smiling. And I thought they were like attractive photos, or they, I looked like serious or something like that. But I wasn't generating any sort of engagement because people couldn't, I wasn't approachable. And you see that all the time with LinkedIn profiles, just like the one that I showed you that was over stylized, where it's a cool looking photo, but it's not approachable. And so really at the end of the day, this is all about, it's not about you, it's about your audience. And it's about showing up as yourself and reaping the rewards for having the courage to do so.
Great, thank you. Somebody asked a question about Pinterest. Do you have any thoughts on using that vehicle?
Yeah, so I used Pinterest when I was running the social media presence for the property management company. And I will say, in the real estate industry, it is incredibly powerful. I was very surprised myself, even when we used them, but we would add listings, but we also had boards for different things. So we had some for room decor. We had a board for each different area. So anywhere we had properties, we would also showcase different restaurants in the area. And then we even expanded beyond that. So we had each one of our rental agents, and they had their own board that they would share with prospects of just cool places within the area. And that was just such a great way to show that authority and show that you are part of the community. And it's just a surprising, interesting, creative way to use it. So uh, definitely Pinterest, when you are in real estate, is something that you want to explore, but you need to go beyond just sharing listings. And educational content works really well on there, but also having a little bit of inspiration. So whether it's, you could put some inspirational quotes. When I'm working with clients that are in the real estate biz, I like to bring it back to home, because I think it's always important to give that like homey feel. So I try to build it around home or family and give them that cozy feeling, but also just kind of mix it up with just other content that just makes it look more like a magazine and not just like a sales pitch.
Great, thank you. So we're getting a lot of questions that we're not going to have time to answer. We're going to ask one more, but feel free, everyone that's on, please ask all your questions. As a reminder, we'll be sending out a copy of this presentation, the recording of this presentation, and then also the Q&A for all those questions we're unable to answer. So our final question is, what would be some examples for highlights on Instagram for mortgage professionals, which
Yeah.
it may coincide with what you just said with your last answer.
Yeah, there's one, and I cannot remember the name of her, but I'm sorry, I can't cater it directly to mortgage professionals, but she is a real estate agent in Toronto, which is a very, very competitive market. And what she's used Instagram brilliantly. So what she actually does is she'll do like these little like fun tours of different properties that she's selling, and then she adds those to different neighborhoods under her highlights. So if she's in downtown Toronto or North York, then she has each one set up in a different highlight. And I thought that was a really interesting way to do it. Other ways you could do it is that you could have one that was for maybe company culture, one behind the scenes. You could have one that's for like educational content. Me personally, the way that I've divided mine are I have one for books because I'm constantly reading and people are always asking what I'm reading. I have one for travel. I have one for my dogs. And I think I have one for LinkedIn specifically. So it's important again to add that personality into it, but I think that there's so many options for that. I think that the most important part is to narrow down what you want to be showcasing on your Instagram stories. And then once you figure out that strategy, then it's going to become a lot easier to be able to categorize each idea, if that makes sense.
Michaela, this is Carl. Thank you so much. A lot of great information. We have so many questions coming in and so many people on this call from across the country. I'd just like to add my 2 cents just because I'm a pretty big advocate of social media, and that is, number one, just know who your target audience is. Make sure you're honing in on that particular group of people so you know what their interests are, so you're kind of gaining their attention. And the second thing is really consistency. Don't just send something out once in a while. Be consistent with your message, and I think that helps along the way. I don't know what your opinion is, but that seems to help on my end.
Yeah, when I originally started my company page, I started it 2 months ago and have grown it by over 700%. But I originally started posting training videos on there once a week. So I'm a big fan of starting small, figuring out what works, and then doubling down what is working. Don't waste time. There's a lot of people that go out and they have these full stylized videos, and they take a really long time, right? I know I've created videos. It takes days sometimes to create these things, but if it's not generating engagement or if it's not affecting your bottom line, then you shouldn't be spending time on it. So really just figure out, start small, experiment, and then figure out a strategy where you can be consistent and you're not going to spend 2 weeks going all in and then just not posting again, because that's even worse than not starting at all.
Yeah, well, we know this is a good topic because, Michaela, we have about 99% of the people that started on this call that are still on, so it's a very hot topic these days, and we're getting a lot of kudos to you on keeping this informative and also lively, not like a boring presentation that someone just got on here and read. So thank you for that. I just want to say for all the loan officers out there, obviously we have a lot of people in the whole real estate mortgage industry on this call, but for the loan officers especially, we're going to be posting a lot of different things going forward on LinkedIn and on Facebook and other social media on different products. We just introduced an investor cash flow loan, a non-QM product, which is amazing. Fantastic interest rates, extremely easy to qualify. It's really catching speed along with our renovation products and every other product that's out there, all the FHA, VA, and so forth types loans. That's my plug. I want to thank Michaela and thank everyone who's attended this webinar today. Again, look forward to sending this out to everyone that's registered for this webinar. Thank you very much and have a very good day and a happy Thanksgiving to all. Thank you very much.